If you do a historical trade, wouldn't it be great to be able to go back in time and just ask that craftsperson how they did a certain thing? If you just had a few minutes, you could probably resolve many of the mysteries. For me, in club making, one of the mysteries is this groove. I want to know, did they have a set way of knowing how much volume they removed so they could get to a specific head weight? And I don't know the answer to that, but I'm guessing that they just gestalted it kind of by experience. They knew. Like for me, that's the method I'm using. I'm kind of just guessing. For a putter, I know I got to get the groove in about halfway in terms of the depth of the head, or about an inch deep. And I kind of just guess from there, and it pretty much gets it close, but not guaranteed. So I wanted a more scientific method. So I fiddled around with trying to use these pellets. This is bismuth tin, and I poured it into here by covering it up with some blue tape and putting a little hole in there and pouring in with a funnel. And knowing the density of this compared to the solid stuff where you pour it in, I was able to calculate those two densities, come up with a ratio, and I was able to figure out how much volume I had in here and get an idea of how much it would end up weighing. For whatever reason, I couldn't get it to work. So I scrapped that, and one other time I tried earlier, before that, I tried to just take the head and weigh it before I cut the groove. Then I cut the groove out and weighed it again, and then I found out the difference. And if I know the density of the wood that I'm working with, this is maple, the density happens to be 0.705 grams, and I know the density of the weight that I'm pouring in there, I should be able to get a ratio and figure that out. There's some math involved behind that, and the person that helped me with this to figure out and to get it right was Nick, ntc.online on Instagram. He came over as my apprentice, and I helped him work on a club, and he helped me out with a couple things. And one of the things was that formula. So here's the formula we ended up coming up with, mostly him, but this is the formula here. So I'm going to go through that and see if we can get an accurate weight. I'm shooting for 226 grams, which is the weight of the weight of the head of the long spoon. So right now I'm at 131 grams. It's weird because I measured it a few days ago. It was 132 grams, but I'm at 131.5 grams. And we're going to do some calculations and see if we can get that to the right weight. Okay, so we're trying to figure out the head weight, and this is the desired head weight based on the formula that I have here. So that's the desired head weight. That's the density of the maple, density of the bismuth tin. B is the head weight before I've cut the groove. And these are the densities of maple and tin. So this is the formula I came up with, along with Nick, who helped me a lot with this. And he's been successful with it a few times, so he wants me to give it another try. So I'm going to give it a try and see what happens, but I'm also going to use my experience to see, because if the groove looks too big or too small, I'll kind of know. I kind of know based on experience. So this is a putter groove. That's very deep. I'm going to be making a long spoon, so it's not going to be nearly as deep because the weight has to be smaller because you have a longer shaft, and the head weight's going to feel a lot heavier. Finishing up the saw cut here for the groove, we use a gouge and trace that out next. So just using a gouge here, and we're going to stake out the groove. And the reason you do this is when you use the drill, it can end up really causing some cracks. So this prevents the cracks from spreading. So you try to find a gouge that fits the curve. And we'll finish that up, and I'll show you the next step. So I'm just drilling out the waste material here. If you make a mortise and tenon joint, sometimes you remove the mortise material by using a drill or a brace and bit in this case. So did the club makers use this method? I don't know. I don't think so, because the reason I'm using the brace and bit
is I have to make my groove a little bit wider than they did with lead. Lead's about 25-30% heavier than the material I'm using. So they probably didn't do this. Maybe they did. I don't know. It's hard to know. So anyway, I guess I'm done with that. So just after drilling out the material, I'm not even done with the groove. Let's see where we are here. So we're at about 126 grams. I need to get to 123.27 grams. So I'm at 123.5 grams at this point. I gotta get down about another 2.5 grams. There are also anchor holes in here that I have to remove. If you notice, the grain goes this way. So when I'm working on the bottom of the groove or on the back wall, I'm going this way. But if I'm working on this top wall, I have to flip the club around. All right, so I've got the anchors in, kind of smoothed it out a little bit. To me, looking at it as a gestalt, I actually would have thought I should have gone a little deeper than what this is, but normally I would clean it out and make it a little smoother, but I don't want to remove any more weight because I'm right at our target of 123.7. So I'm going to pour some lead in, or bismuth tin, and we'll see what happens. Try to see if we can get it to our weight of 226 grams, which is our desired weight. Okay, I removed the clay dam from this head. I got it now on the scale again. Now this is, you can see it's protruding, and that's what we want because we're going to file it down, but it's going to weigh more until we file it down. So I'm at 242 grams. Our target is at 226 grams. So I'm going to try to file this down, and hopefully it's 16 grams I need to remove, and that should get it flush. I have a feeling it may be right. We'll see. Using the cart scraper and the file, I got this down all the way, so that lead is pretty flush. There's no crowning at all. So I put it on the scale, and I'm at 224.5 grams. So that is pretty darn close. I was trying to get it to 226, so I'm 1.5 grams off. So not bad at all. So one last shout out to Nick again. Thank you so much. You learned from me, I learned from you. Thank you. This is going to help with my club making, and hopefully it continues to work. I think the only problem is if you don't have the densities correct. But if you can measure the density off the block of your actual wood that you're using, you should be able to get some pretty accurate measurements.